Let's talk about what's happened this week. We discussed this on the show, I think the last half of the show yesterday, when we saw the footage, just extraordinary footage of the clashes we saw between revellers, I think they're called, on the streets of Brixton, and police on Wednesday night. And again, last night we saw a huge number of parties across central London being broken up by the police. 22 police officers were injured. 2 had to go to hospital on Wednesday night after those extraordinary clashes. You may well have seen those videos on TV or online. Just extraordinary scenes. The police, yet again, the sight of police running away, I've got to be honest with you, it's just intolerable to me. And police cars being smashed up with furniture legs and the like, and the police running scared. Only 4 arrests so far. I think we probably need a few hundred more because 400 people minimum were at that party. Have the police now just completely and utterly lost control of our streets? And what do we do about it? Let's talk to Shaun Bailey. He's Conservative candidate for Mayor of London. Good morning to you, Shaun.
Morning, Julia, morning.
It's really interesting that the front pages seem to be much more concerned with lots of people going to the beach, which, technically speaking, is not even breaking the law yesterday. And some photographs, some of which I think are probably not particularly accurate representations of how close people were. And they seem to be remarkably unconcerned about people holding illegal parties in the street and smashing up police cars and threatening police officers, forcing them to run away. Why do you think that people seem to be more bothered? Well, the media, the mainstream media, seem to be more bothered about people on a beach than people having violent clashes with the police?
Let's be clear, I'm very concerned about people having illegal parties that then turn into even more legal gatherings because they're fighting with the police. That is what I'm concerned about. And I don't know who those people in the papers or the media have been talking to, because down here in London, we are all very concerned about these things on 2 levels. One, we're really worried that the mayor has not shown enough leadership and said to the police, OK, I will back you when you have to make the hard operational decisions to control these things. And 2, we think that's so important because we don't want it to lead to a summer of crime. If we don't intervene now, we could be dealing with huge problems as the lockdown is eased and more people come out onto the streets. So that's why we want the police and the mayor to get a grip.
Yeah.
And let me make a distinction here. The reason I'm talking about the police and the mayor, I don't think it's useful for everyone to say to the police what a mess of the job they've made, because they're doing as they're asked. It's about the leadership of the police, who is the mayor, who's not doing anything at all.
Yeah, and going back, the Sadiq Khan, the London mayor, has control over the policing of the city. It's as simple as that. That is his responsibility. That's one of the key responsibilities he does have. What I found interesting, though, there were 2 particular comments which I've been really, really bothered by in the last 24 hours. One is a man who was at the street party in Brixton on Wednesday night, who was interviewed by Sky News yesterday, who was standing, bare-chested, talking to the cameras and saying, the party, there was nothing going wrong. Everyone was in good spirits. It was a perfectly nice party, and then the police turned up. I don't know why the police turned up. It's like, well, because local neighbours called the police because it was 2 a.m. and you guys were out in the street having a legal party during lockdown, mate. It's probably why. And then said the police came here and they wanted to impose their laws. No, you talk about their laws. No, the law of the land, which affects this guy. This is a young British man talking. Law of the land affects everyone. But also a pastor in London speaking overnight on talkRADIO, talking about how people in Tottenham and others, they're disadvantaged and they're frustrated, and there's with austerity and they're really put upon, and this is their frustration, and it's setting out making excuses for people breaking the law because times are rough. Well, times are rough for millions and millions of other people who've lost their jobs, are worried, people who've been having to shield themselves, worried for their family members, and they're not out on the streets just deciding to make their own laws up. Why is it that some people have an excuse? We saw this with the Black Lives Matter protest. It's absolutely wrong for anyone to be out on the streets unless it's a protest that happens to be acceptable to the political elite and happens to be something people feel passionate about. Do we actually have different laws that apply to different people in this country now? Because I thought I grew up in a country and lived in a country where the laws all apply to everybody.
Well, of course we don't have different laws, and that's one of our proudest boasts as British people. The law is for everybody, it's the same for everybody under the sun. And this is the point, isn't it? We've got to the point now where we have all of our trials done in the press. Certain voices in society are unbelievably loud, and everybody else is just meant to follow suit. And that's why I say to people, let's let's draw a line in the sand, and let's say to the mayor, enough. Let's say to people who are making excuses, enough. That's why all through this process of Black Lives Matters and now into the summer, where it just becomes about policing London. I've been saying we need to bring people together, but we also need to back the police to have the authority to run our streets properly, because it benefits no one, black, white, blue, and all the shades in between, if we lose control of the streets in London. So I ask the mayor, please give the police the backing to take on these elements, because it will turn into something really bad if we don't step in now.
But this is the problem, isn't it? Because rank and file police officers, I'm sure, as horrified by this as everyone else. And the police officer I know who are friends who just send me messages of just about, head in their hands about how these events, including the Black Lives Matter events, have been policed. That actually, when you see police officers taking the knee, when you see police officers running away from danger rather than running towards it, when you see police officers being laughed at by crowds, when you see police officers doing that whole, again, things like pride, absolutely, gay rights, 100%, but do I need police officers dressing up in rainbow shades and holding flags and things? When the police stop being police officers and start being social workers, that's when you get the problem, isn't it? Haven't the police now been put in a position where, by their own bosses, where they have just completely lost all authority?
But the police always have to maintain a certain amount of authority. That's important for us all. They're our police service and they carry our authority, and we need to encourage them to behave in that manner. But this goes deeper than just these riots. If you look back what's happened over the last 4 years, in London, we've closed 38 of our police counters. Many of those police buildings now look abandoned and underused. So what it's saying to criminals, to everybody, is the police are in retreat. Episodes like this compound that feeling. What we need is to say the police are our police. We need to back our police, and it's very small elements, very militant, very, very loud elements that we actually need to take on and let them know that actually crime doesn't help anybody. And if you're going to be a criminal, we'll send the police for you and the courts will deal with you. That's the kind of message we need from the mayor. And the reason we need that is because the police are in a position now where they couldn't say anything like that because they'll just be trampled to death in the press. And they don't want that. The police want to just quietly get on with their job. It's up to the politicians in charge, again Sadiq Khan, who is the police commissioner for London, to take these issues on and stop standing on the fence. Because standing on the fence is destroying communities because there's violence there.
Also, can I just ask you finally about Sadiq Khan message he sent out yesterday about the trouble in Brixton overnight? He said violence against the police will not be tolerated. I mean, again, that's not from the pictures I've seen. Looks like it is actually. But he says large gatherings during COVID-19 are deeply irresponsible and risk others' lives. Do you recall him sending the same message out during the Black Lives Matter protests?
But this is the point. I said it at the time. What we need is a mayor who doesn't choose sides. The only side he should choose is law and order, because it means when things like this happen, he's on much firmer ground when he challenges any particular community, because he's challenging and defending all communities at the same time. He's not doing that. He's picking people who thinks he'll vote for him, but ultimately he's putting us all at risk. All at risk. To any of your listeners who are unaware, I happen to be a black man, and I've been very firm with people who've been rioting for one reason or the other. Doesn't help. Stop it. You're not getting the message across. I'm not picking sides other than the side of law and order, because it makes the best sense for everybody. And now that the mayor hasn't done that, well, at the beginning, if he doesn't change his direction of what could be a horrific summer for us, and we just don't want it. What Londoners want to do is focus on rebuilding the London economy and the country's economy, because there's so many people who've lost their jobs that we really want to get them back to work. That's our focus at the minute.
OK, thank you very much indeed. Shaun Bailey, Conservative candidate for Mayor of London there. I'm always happy to speak to Sadiq Khan, the London Mayor, but for some reason he doesn't want to come on the show. I know.